What's up, guys? So today I'm going to show you how to do the fresh air breather bolt mod for your Harley Davidson motorcycle. This applies to all Sportsters, all Dynas, and all baggers. So what you're going to need first is the Arlen Ness Big Sucker. Stage 1 is completely fine. This one's going to be going on a Sportster. So here's the part number for that. You're going to need some JB weld, a T fitting, quarter by quarter, 2 barb fittings, 1/4 inch inside diameter, 1/8 inch MPT by 27, 2 of those. I like to use these style clamps. It's definitely more professional look. As far as the hose goes, you're going to need a 1/4 inch inside diameter, 1/2 inch outside diameter. 5 feet is plenty. You can buy all of this at Menards. Obviously the air intake, you'd have to source that online. You're gonna need a center punch. You're gonna need the tap to tap the bracket for the air cleaner, which is a 1/8 inch NPT 27, very important. You're gonna need the drill bit for it, and you're gonna need a pilot bit. And the drill bit, I believe, is 11/32. Yep, 11/32 drill bit. You're gonna need a hammer, and obviously you're gonna need a drill. So this is your backing plate here. Before you do any of this, verify that they sent you the correct one. Verify that they sent you all the correct hardware, because you don't want to go drilling on this and then come to find out that they made an error at the manufacturer and sent you the wrong one. So verify that this bracket fits on the motorcycle that you're using it for, and verify that all the hardware is there. They have actually sent me ones before that have been missing hardware, and it was kind of a big ordeal after things have already been modified. So verify you have everything before doing this. The first thing you're going to want to do is remove this from the packaging, and then on the bottom of the plate, you're going to want to mark with a permanent marker right in the center, 2 black dots. You want them to be, equally centered. So this is the orientation of the back of the plate. You're going to want to put a dot there. You're going to want to put a dot there. That's where you're going to be drilling. Again, this is the back. This is how the front looks. That's the side, black dot right in the center on the right, black dot right in the center on the left. So once you get it drilled out, it's going to look like this. Hole on the left side, hole on the right side. Again, you're only drilling through one of the walls, not all the way through. One wall. That's how your backing plate's going to look after it's been drilled. Now it's time for tapping. And this is how I drill and tap it. I just mount it up in my vise. I put a rag in the vise so I don't maul the part up. One thing to keep in mind when you do this, I kind of angle the tap slightly just because the carburetor is in this location and you don't want the hoses to interfere or anything with it. So just a slight angle on both sides, but this is how it's going to look after you tap it. That's with the tap in there, and then I just use a crescent wrench on there. It's aluminum, guys, so it's super soft, super brittle, and you only have to go about 40% down on the tap. It'll get pretty tight, and that's all that you have to do. But you want to make sure you do the same depth on both sides, and then your fitting screws right into it. I did forget to mention, I'd put a little bit of pipe dope on there, pipe tape, whatever, that'll work perfect, just because oil is going to be coming out of these fittings and you may get a small leak. So definitely recommend doing that. So once you've had it drilled out and tapped, this is where you're going to want to JB weld the 2 oil holes on the plate. There's going to be this hole here and this hole here. Those are the 2 holes that you're going to want to JB weld. Just mix up some JB weld and pack it into those 2 holes. I recommend letting it cure for 24 hours. If it does sink in a little bit, once it dries, you can always apply another coat to it. But this is what it looks like when you fill those 2 holes. Those are the 2 original oil holes. So what that's going to do is not allow the oil to run down in that hole right there on both sides. It's going to run out of your fittings instead. So let that dry for 24 hours and you'll be good to go. And this is what it's going to look like after you install the barbs on there. I did put some pipe dope on there just so the oil seals around there, but that's the finished product right there. Now we just have to route the hoses, and I'll show you that once it gets onto the bike. Got the JB weld in the 2 oil holes. Again, let that cure for about 24 hours. And I screw it into where it's almost flush at the bottom, just so the oil doesn't have to really build up inside there and go around the barb. It just kind of fills up right there and then goes straight down the hoses once we get those routed. But yeah, that's how it looks. Nice and clean look. You can't even see it from the front of the bike. You can see it if you look on the side of the bike, but definitely a nice clean look. And here's a quick trick of the trade for the carburetor gasket. Put some lithium grease on it and it will sit on there perfectly perfect. And I did fail to mention why we do this mod. So traditionally, you have your breather bolts on the front cylinder and the rear cylinder, and what happens is with these 2 holes here, when you do not plug them, is that the excessive head oil kind of blows by and goes into these breather bolts and then drains into the carburetor, and then essentially goes back into the combustion chamber, gumming up your pistons. And there's a lot of carbon that builds up on top of those pistons. It essentially kind of gums up the carburetor also. You can get a lot of oil leaks coming out of the air filter because of it. So with this mod, it prevents your combustion chamber from building up with carbon, keeping everything cleaner. It was just one of those things that the EPA did that made Harley do, essentially. So yeah, that's why we do this. And this is how it's going to look once it's installed on the bike. I cut 2 pieces about 6 inches long, put a crimp on the barb, ran it down to the T-fitting, put a crimp there, and that's what the other side looks like. It's a real clean, professional look. I left this a little long because there isn't a cross exhaust on this stock exhaust, and I got to figure out exactly how I'm going to run the tube to the ground. But normally I'll put the long end on here and kind of just run it around and then run it underneath the bike, so then it's kind of dangling here. I know a lot of guys will run it really long and they kind of got like a rat's tail hanging out here on either side of the bike. So it's kind of up to you on where you want to run that. I just try to keep it away from the rear tire, away from the rear brake. But yeah, that's how it looks once it's done. It's a real nice, clean, professional look. These clamps work great. They don't leak at all. T-fitting on there. As always, guys, leave comments, like, subscribe. I appreciate it. Thanks.